Good morning, everybody. It's Jane Johnston of the Bar Hill Group at Remax Camosun. Welcome to the Victoria Real Estate Show. It is Thursday, June 12th. I'm trying to figure out how to do a custom layout here. Andrew, help me.
I don't know what you're doing, but you go ahead. Hey, everybody. Andrew Plank here with Vibe Collective and LePage.
How are you?
Jen Lowe.
No,
Jen
I'm
Lowe
good.
here with Modern Mortgage Group. Andrew, how are you?
Oh, I'm Jane Johnston.
I think we already did that. We're going in circles. Should I start again? Welcome oh my gosh. Okay, good start. Good start to this one. How is everybody? I am doing okay. I am tired. I know Jane said she's tired. Jen, are you tired?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm tired too.
It's just if we were gonna jump in the lake, would you jump in the lake?
I'd never jump in the lake.
It's been some nice weather. It's lake weather over the last little while. Maybe not today. Come on, there's some nice lakes out there.
How's your week going, everybody? What's going on?
Busy.
We've had a number of people I'm finding it really hit and miss. So we've had some listings where we've had sales go through, people asking lots of questions, good questions. We're doing our due diligence on the buying side, but we're finding that it's a bit hit and miss these days. The market's a bit different than it was a few months ago. We'll talk about that today, I guess. How are you finding it, Jen? Are more and more buyers coming up for you?
No, I'm doing right now lots of mortgage renewals that we're potentially looking to refinance to take care of some cash flow challenges. Lots of people, unfortunately, have taken on a bit more debt over the last few years. So we're getting that sorted out. This week's also been busy trying to figure out this new GST rebate for first-time home buyers and what that looks like. Right now, there's a bit of confusion as the rebate, it's a rebate. So, which means then that you cannot finance the GST with your mortgage. Previously, we used to be able to do that. So a client is a first-time home buyer is then needing to come up with the additional funds for the GST and then gets that money back in 1 to 2 years from the government. So that's a problem that we're waiting to hear how I know, right?
Hold on.
Yeah, and that's a hold the horses kind of thing.
This is a program that's supposed to make housing more affordable is actually not going to do that.
No, they didn't think
mind blown.
The rebate piece through. It shouldn't be any different than the property transfer tax. If you are a first-time home buyer, you do not pay property transfer tax, right? But why is it the GST you have to pay up front and get it rebated? So needs to be sorted
because the
out.
lenders do not want people getting in trouble or buying homes with the understanding or expectation they're going to get a windfall of money that doesn't go towards the mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way to set it up so that, it used to be like, I guess for new development, if there was a GST rebate, it would get assigned back to the developer, for example. Is there a way to assign it back to the lender so that it's okay and they can still do this? Or is it absolutely just not a possibility?
That's what needs to be figured out right now. Like that's I was at an event yesterday and it was definitely a topic of conversation. I'm part of, it's called CMB-ABC, and it's our BC Mortgage Broker Association. And this is something that they're bringing forward as we need answers quickly.
So what would be the cost on $1 million?
Well, 5%, right? 5% GST. that you have to come up with that extra money, and usually first-time home buyers, right? You've got all your money saved for that down payment.
Right.
And now you've got an extra 5% that you need to have that will then be given back to you when the government gets around.
Gets around to it. Right.
Oh boy.
So you've got to apply for it. Yeah. Okay. So unintended consequences yet again with legislation. I mean,
Yes.
we deal with unintended consequences all the time within our own real estate board. Really great idea they had recently to change our communication system for realtors, and
Doesn't work.
It's not working as well as many people thought it would. So and also, rolled out in the spring when it's the busiest season. Why not roll it out in summer when and to a limited number of test agents or something, right? Or some sort of test it out. But anyway, these are the things that happen with government and with any organization apparently. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but it also, just to speak to that, because that is a big deal. What it's saying really, the reason why there's an uprising in the Victoria Real Estate Board is because people actually care. So they want to be in touch and they want to know what's going on. So this is a sign of a good board. And my understanding is that the board was actually kind of overpromised and under-delivered. It's not the board's fault. It's the company.
There's a lot of factors that went into it, but let's go. Yeah. And so there were a lot of factors that went into it. I'm sure there's a lot of factors, maybe not, that went into the decision around the GST. But the GST idea, obviously that problem that's coming up with the GST, I guess the politicians didn't talk to the banks and realize or understand that the banks are going to be a little conservative about this and definitely not want to see. This is the same kind of issue where banks don't like to see buyers negotiate money back on closing from a seller. So say they've agreed to some sort of money back for repairs because you need new carpets. The lender does not want to do that because they don't want the buyer to be being loaned money that could be just seen as money in their pocket.
Right. Well, it is money in their pocket because it's if they get a $20,000 rebate from the seller, which allows them to buy the home or whatever.
Exactly.
It's fraud, actually.
Exactly. It is fraud. Yeah.
Okay, so let's get to the more serious stuff of what's happening in the market. We're going to talk about pricing a home in a shifting market. This is a discussion with a lot of clients recently. But first, let's go through the mortgage update with Jen Lowe. What's happening, Jen?
Yeah, so the Bank of Canada, they chose June 4th to keep their overnight lending rate the same at 2.75%. We are expecting 2 more rate cuts, however, this year, but inflation is a concern, and that's being watched closely. Fixed rates, they've been rising a little bit. And this is due to the bond market volatility. Yeah, that's about it.
Okay.
You were saying earlier you're doing a lot of refinancing, and it was interesting to hear you say that because when I asked how things are going, you said I'm doing a lot of refinancing, and I would have thought you would have been saying, "Hey, I'm doing a lot of qualifications for buyers in this market because it's we're moving towards summer, but it's still the busy season, you might say, or should be the busy season." And your answer was you said I'm doing refinancing. I was like, okay, interesting.
Yeah. I'm definitely it not nearly as busy right now with purchases. I'm averaging sort of 1 to 2 purchases a week, but that's way down for this time of year.
What would be typical for this time of year?
I'd say closing 8 to 9 purchases a month.
Wow.
Okay. So you're about half is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question. Do people tend to go with their original lender? Or do they
For
come back to
renewals?
you?
They always come back to me. And what I'm doing is I'm comparing what their current lender has provided, and I'll let people know whether it makes sense to sign on the dotted line and just do a straight renewal. Or it's also an opportunity to have that conversation. Does it make sense to extend the lifetime of your mortgage to help with cash flow? Do you have any upcoming changes in the next, few years, where we want to look at not necessarily going with a 5-year fixed rate, which is what your bank is going to recommend.
Mm-hmm.
Still, so what is a fixed rate right now for?
It depends on, like, for a purchase right now, a fixed rate is around 4.14 for your minimum down payment. If we're looking at a 20% down payment, that's about 4.44. 3-year fixed rate right now, 4.29. So that's, I
Right.
find very interesting as well, that shorter term fixed rate, which I like to call a good hybrid product, as it's giving you that security in certainty and knowing what your payment's going to be for 3 years. And that's signaling to me that in 3 years, where's the market going to be? The banks know more than we do.
So
Yeah.
they do. They do a lot of math.
Yeah.
So I want to touch on something you said, and that was for the let's say a less than 20% down, the rate is, I think, maybe about 20
Better.
basis points or more.
Better.
Have you, and when someone is making so why, other than, so you're going to be paying CMHC fees or Genworth or whatever, you're going to be paying fees to the insurer. What is the difference in end cost for someone if they're choosing to go like, hey, I want the lower interest rate, I'm actually going to put less money down, but then I have to
It
pay
doesn't
this.
make sense. Yeah.
It still doesn't make sense.
No.
I just want to clarify that for folks.
Yeah. It right now with the current spread, with the insured rate versus the uninsured rate, it does not make sense to pay the premium, because the premium's like $16,000, let's just say, on
Right.
500,000. So no, it definitely
And
doesn't.
that tacks on to your mortgage as well. So any savings in interest is taken up in the fact that you're paying interest on a larger amount as well.
Do you have a spreadsheet that you share with clients that you just say, okay, here's the loan amount, here are the different strategies, and here's what you're going to be paying over time, immediately and over time?
Yes, I actually have an app that if I should send to both of you if you don't have it. But yes, it basically, like, you can do mortgage comparisons up to 5. We can compare up to 5 different mortgages. I'm happy to set it up and help clients as well. But if people want to just play around with it, that's an option too.
Nice.
Okay, that's awesome.
If anybody wants Jen's mortgage app, please put a note in the chat, or please send a message to Jen directly.
JenLowe.ca.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, so 7-day Victoria Market Watch. Andrew, go ahead.
Yeah, in the last 7 days, we've had 394 new listings come online. It's a little up again over the past week. 382 was the week before. The new properties going pending, 212 properties went pending, quite a higher number than the 136 the week before. Price decreases continue to rise. We're up over 200 at 222 in the last 7 days versus 167 the week before. And 43 properties expired in this last week as opposed to 74 the week before.
Oh, sexy. Thank you, Andrew.
And isn't that great?
And the list to sale ratio this week was 53.81%, and that's up over last week, which was 35.60%. So we're seeing a little uptick in the market, which is reflected in the number of pending sales.
Yes.
Okay, so compared year over year, month to date statistics, this month we've had 185, so that's up to the 12th. Sorry, no, that would be up to the 9th, so that's pretty good compared to 661 for the month of June in 2024. We're at 427 new listings so far this month. That's compared to 1495 for last June. And total active listings, we're getting close to 4,000. We're at 3729, and that's up 10% over last year at 3459. So
we're gonna like have a big gong go off when we hit 4,000, or what's the plan? Are we gonna have a party?
yeah, let's do it.
Okay, awesome. Looking forward to it.
Okay, so what are we talking about today, Andrew?
We are talking about, what kind of strategies, I think, for both buyers and sellers should we be looking at when we are considering value of a home in a shifting marketplace? What do we tell our clients? How do we frame it? What are we looking at? What do we have to consider when the market is moving around a bit? And so it's really hard to put a pin on price.
So, well, what do you do?
I mean, first of all, I think what you do is you just share the information with your clients and let them, help them to understand that it is a shifting market, and so that they can understand whether they want to price to capture the shift, get ahead of it, whether they are feeling like they want to wait for maybe a shift back in the right direction for whatever that might mean. It's really a matter of letting them know that risks of pricing a home in a market that could be going down, pricing it, too high or pricing it too low when things are moving around. But I think it's just really about conversation and really highlighting for folks that something's different now, that things are shifting. It's not, we're not just the values of the properties that we can look at in the past, what we normally do for comparables. We can normally say, if the market's been even and all things being equal, these ones that sold that are very comparable to yours, there's a good chance a buyer will come along and pay a similar price. But with things starting to shift, we need to look at other strategies and maybe consider the benefits of actually pricing lower in order to get more in the long run. That would be a big mind set piece for some people who need to sell, and understand that if you price according to the market now and then end up with the price of values going down, you may have to chase it and end up much further down the marketplace than if you priced it to sell today. That's one of the big pieces of conversation. Jane, your mind is spinning there. What is?
Well, first of all, I'm wondering, how do we get rid of the banner at the bottom?
I don't know.
I'm like trying to get rid of the banner and I'm half listening to you. Okay.
I see. I'll work on that while you craft your response.
Okay, so here's my thought. So first, I've been having lots of conversations like this recently with clients, and you can get in a case of analysis paralysis with your clients wondering what you should be listing at. How did you do that?
We'll talk later.
Okay. So what was interesting in the conversation I had yesterday was, since listing a property, we looked at what else has come on the market since then. And what we noticed was there were a significant amount of listings that just came on. So what that says to me is, if you look, so one reason why I tell people to list earlier in the year is because there's just less competition. There's like this many other listings to compare to. And as you move on in the year, you have this many. So when you're, one little listing, and you have 10 comparables, you have a 10% chance of selling. But when you all of a sudden are one of 100, it's just a lot less. The chances of you selling for what you want are, because people have choice. So what I was saying was, when, people are looking and they see there are 10 properties that meet their criteria and they get to see all 10, then they don't feel that, or the buyer doesn't feel the urgency. The seller, on the other hand, is looking, okay, well, I listed, here was what was for sale when I listed. And then it's very important to have the conversation. Here's what's for sale now, 15 or 30 days in. And oh my God, all of a sudden, there's less people around here. I mean, there's more people around here that I need to sort of adjust. So there's looking at what's exactly in the competition for your house. Well, let's say it's a single family home, but there's also looking at what are the unique characteristics of your home? What other homes are out there that have it? And then looking at it holistically and saying, price range wise, what is just for sale in that price range? So let's say we're looking like 700 to 800,000 or something. What other condos are for sale in that price range? And then what other houses are for sale in that price range?
Yeah. I play a little game with my buyers, with my sellers, and my sellers, especially when we're looking at pricing. And it's something you need to do and revisit every once in a while when you've been on market for a while, especially, again, in a shifting market, where you say, look, you're priced at $900,000. If I had $900,000 today, and let's say the average buyer had $900,000 and was to go shopping, how would they be viewing your property compared to what else is currently on offer? Not what is sold in the past. Your neighbor may have gotten $50,000 more than you're currently asking, and they might have exactly the same place as yours, and they just sold 3 weeks ago. But right now, what are the options for buyers? Because they're going to be looking with their money, which is important to them, obviously, just to do the best they can for it.
Yeah. So you have to keep apprised of what's going on in the market. That's the biggest mistake I find. If a seller is not looking at what's happening in the market, and we send those market reports once a week, we are in contact with them with what's happening. And if they're not looking, okay, how many people are looking at my listing? How many showings am I getting? How many other people are for sale on the market? Then when they don't understand why, and they start asking me, well, are you advertising here? Are you advertising here? Have you thought of advertising here? And I'm like, I'm advertising. If you Google your email or your address, you're going to show up in a million different places because you are all over the web. So it's not the marketing. So it really comes down to figuring out, where is the market going? So Andrew and I, and I'm sure Jen, are always looking at what's happening. What is the news saying? What is the BC REA saying? What is the Victoria Real Estate Board saying? What are other realtors saying? We go to parties and we're totally boring because we all talk real estate. How's it going for you?
Those are fun parties. I think that we need to talk. I mean, there's a balancing act here too, because there's also sometimes all the doom and gloom messaging that comes up, and consumer sentiment is something we really need to take seriously. But there are micro markets, there are things that can happen, and part of our job too, is helping our clients understand this too shall pass, or the difference between this too shall pass. Okay, there's been a bit of a blip in the market. It's very likely to come back. You're probably okay to hold, stay on target. But on the other hand, everything's kind of telling us that this could be a long-term shift, and you may want to get ahead of this, because otherwise you may not end up not even being able to sell.
Yeah, so I find it interesting when we're talking about interest rates, because I find whenever there's a lowering of an interest rate, there's a bit of optimism in the market. And and so the fact that there haven't been interest rate announcements lowering has kind of stopped people. But then I think, we're still at a really good interest rate if we compare to the regular world like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So I just think sometimes it's just a mental shift that has to happen. And it can also be seasonality. So it can be, it's the time of year that you have to look at what is the overall activity of the market that's happening. Like, are we really in a spring market? It feels like we were in a spring market. We had an early spring market. It feels like we hesitated. Feels like it bumped up a bit over the last few weeks. And that like May was slow.
Right.
And then it feels like it's bumped up again. And it's kind of like sitting on a pulse. You're going up and down, waiting. And part of it is, what is a product that you have that you're
Right.
selling is when you're talking about the micro market.
And the thing about the micro market is that's a really almost impossible thing to predict or watch for. So I know people want to, list and get as much as they can for a home and try to, sell at the peak and then buy at the low, and, taking micro markets into account and so forth. It's like turning a large ship. Housing is not liquid. You list, it takes time to get it prepared, get it up on market. You could miss out on a beautiful, maybe that one weekend you had 5 out of 10 buyers happen to be in town, and a bunch of properties come off the marketplace, and they're all, there's a lot of competition for them. And then the next weekend, it's a long weekend. Everybody's at the beach. People are distracted, and you're not getting any kind of activity on your property. So it's impossible to really fully predict these things.
It's interesting you say that because I found the May long weekend quite busy this year, surprisingly. And then I'm wondering, it's Father's Day this weekend, and I'm wondering, should I do an open house or not? Am I going to get people? Am I not? Are people going to be together? Like, is it a good idea or not? It's really, so I was saying to my husband, like, we're always negotiating time and money, dates and money. Like sometimes the date for a purchase, I just sold a place and both the buyer and the seller wanted to complete in September. I'm like, this is a match made in heaven. How unusual is this? But it's, and those sellers who are becoming buyers are figuring the market's going to go down. So they're happy with a long closing because they want to buy in the down market in the fall.
Right. And that is, actually, and that speaks to the pricing in a shifting market is, are you buying first and then selling? Are you selling first and then buying? Because if the market is shifting, there are strategies, especially important strategies around that, depending on which direction the market is going. So in a market that's rising, what do? Buy first or sell first?
You buy first.
Yeah, because you're going to get more for your home down the road. And so that can be hard for people who can't actually afford to buy first. But if you are in a financial position of being able to do that, you're more than likely going to benefit from that strategy. And the other way around, if the market's going down. So,
the best position, which is such a hard position to be in, is to not have to sell or buy. You're selling or buying because you want to. It's a preference. Because when you're motivated to sell, so the thing I tell people, especially when they're older, like you want to sell before you have to sell. You want to make these decisions. It's like go to the bank to get the loan before you really need the money.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it is,
true.
That it is hard in a shifting market, again, where you go to sell your home and then you've got an unconditional agreement to sell your home, and then the market suddenly takes off. You're competing against properties. You're not winning on those competitions. And 3 months down the road, 4 months down the road, you still haven't found a home, and prices have gone up by 5%. And now you can no longer afford to buy a home even as good as the one you just sold. Those are things that you got to really, really watch out for in those shifting markets.
I don't think we're shifting that way, though. I think we're shifting the other way. I think.
No, but I'm talking in generality for sure.
Yeah. I think right now people need to just realize, I think there are a number of factors that are coming in that say that the market's going to go down. So
really,
Well, the BC real
High
estate
inventory.
economist is saying that the market's slowed down. I'm
Mhm.
thinking if I highly doubt actually that we're going to see 2 interest rate drops. I know that they're thinking that, but if inflation is up, I don't see interest rates going down. I don't know. And I see the number of listings going up. That's another sign that prices are going to go down just because there's going to be more choice. So people are going to, well, you know what? If I don't want your place, I can go to the neighbor's place. I mean, I was doing an open house the other day on a street where the same, slightly different house is for sale. We both did open houses at the same time. People were going literally back and forth to 2 houses. I got an offer on mine, which we did not accept. And I sent a note out to the realtors, and the other realtor said, "Send them my way. We'll take us up to the sale." Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
and it speaks to the seller's motivation as well, right? So that seller is more likely to take a low ball offer than my seller.
So speaking of shifting markets, and when things are starting to slow down and not looking as positive, one of the things that I've observed over the years, and I think it's followed up in the data, is prices tend to go up much more quickly than they come down. We had during COVID, there was a big fear spike at the very beginning, and prices dropped precipitously to begin with, and then they just came roaring back. But overall, sellers are less likely to drop their price than buyers are to increase their price. When you see somebody so we see that prices, when the market turns to slow down, sellers will choose not to sell rather than take less quite often.
If they have the opportunity to do that, I talk to people about that all the time. So like, if somebody's like, I need to sell now because I'm moving for my job, that's one thing.
That is
If
one thing.
they're like, you know what, my kids are growing older and we need more space to fit them in, that's a different thing. Or we want, sometimes, I think we talked about this last week. Sometimes I see people who are, they're just going through a rough time. Either their mom needs to come in with them, or perhaps, their kids are going to university and things are shifting and their cash flow may be different and all of that. So really trying to help them figure out, is this a short-term decision? Is this a short-term pain or a long-term one? And then, yes, do you have to sell?
Right. No, yeah, you're right. And the person who's owned their home for 25 years and, sure, their number on paper for the value of it went up higher at some point in the past, and now it's a little lower perhaps, but they're still willing to sell. They know what they want to do with the money. They've got a place to go with it. Those people who bought at a higher price point have a harder time selling at a lower price point. And those people who are, having plans to do a certain thing. But people do also, it takes some time, but people do have to always be reminded of, I think, what is your end all intention here? What's the cost of staying in the same home for the next 5 years, and not getting on with your life? And is that value going to be subjectively worth spending the money of the less for your home that you might get today than tomorrow?
So let's just talk strategies here. So you have to sell your home now. We're in a declining market, let's say, or, it's at least flat. I think we are flat. And
I agree with that.
What are signs that say you're not priced right? One is you're not getting any viewings.
Yeah. The viewings you are getting, the feedback is, it's not a fit for the clients, or there's some sort of comment on, room is too small, or needs of this, or, condition. And that's usually to indicate that they're finding better value somewhere else.
Yeah. Or they may not give you any feedback, because if they do, and they do come back. They don't want to prejudice themselves. So that happens too. We are in a weird situation when we give feedback, because are we giving our feedback or the client's feedback? So no showings, you're getting feedback that maybe is saying there's something wrong with the house. And
Lowball offers.
Lowball offer. I'm trying to think. Or maybe you are getting the viewings and no offers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're in the right. So you have to adjust. So the strategy is to say, hey, I want an offer. How do we do that? One is we can do a price reduction. One is we can up our marketing a bit. Maybe do some more social media around it. Another is we can do an open house.
Yeah. An open house I would consider within the realm of marketing. But when we talk about, so you said earlier, we do, even without doing any specific realtor marketing, just the MLS marketing, it means you're going to be seen all over the place. And 90% of the people working with agents as buyers are going to be seeing your property. So doing additional marketing is helpful. But is that the lever that you are going to get the most bang for your buck on? And I would say sometimes it's about just rebranding the marketing, rebranding that home, really kind of wondering, okay, we've been marketing it as this kind of trying to attract these types of buyers because this was the buyer we thought was going to be coming to this home. But maybe we're wrong. Maybe we want to talk to this kind of buyer who might have deeper pockets or have a different kind of, maybe there's more of them in the marketplace right now. So we need to get their attention. And that's where the rebranding comes in, plus the additional marketing.
Yeah, so I often will change pictures around so that it shows up differently.
Same.
And I'll change the comments around. I find actually, I was talking to clients that it is helpful to do an open house because I was listening to what people were saying. And then I can edit the comments that way. Like so many people came into this one listing and they're like, so where's the second floor? I'm like, there's no second floor.
Yeah.
It's a bridge here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then I realized they were looky-loos who were driving by.
Right.
And so they weren't aware of the listing before they came to the open house. So
right. So that's one comment and you question it and you find that out and then you don't make an emergency shift in your marketing. But if you had 3 people come in and say, where's the second floor? You might want to go back and look at your MLS listing and determine why people are thinking that. And, we all make mistakes. Sometimes there is something put into the MLS and it's a really good thing to double check it and triple check it. But even after that, there could be mistakes.
This is why you want to really read the comments when people are constructive. So we had an open house. This is one of the first listings I had. And this woman had her primary bedroom upstairs and she had her son. She actually had her son sleeping upstairs, but she had the crib downstairs and people would come like on the main level. And then she used the front bedroom as an office. And after the open house, I realized people were saying, okay, like, I don't like not sleeping on the same level as my child. Why would anybody do that? So we just moved her bed down, made the upstairs an office and gym. And all of a sudden the comments went away and then the house sold. So sometimes having the open house just makes you aware of how people are perceiving it.
So there was, so there's a woman who she was on the spectrum and she identified things about farm animals, I guess, and there's some stuff on TED Talks about this. I'm going somewhere with this. Bear with me. She identified like animals that are going through the corrals and they're being, sent through the various maze of stuff and they're stopping and there's a certain point where it's blocking. And she's able to kind of say, well, you know what, there's a flag that's flying across the way there and it's catching their eye, it's distracting them. And it's causing this whole line to stop. And it's actually fascinating if you listen to her, because what she's doing is she's perceiving things that maybe somebody else might not perceive. And they're on the unconscious level for these animals. But that's the same for us. We're animals too. We're going through a home and you see something on the wall that the seller has put there that's a personal item. And suddenly they are going down some memory lane or having some emotional reaction to it, positive, negative, whatever it is. They leave and they're not thinking about the house. They're thinking about that event. And
That's
so
true.
that crib on the, 2 floors away from the main home, you're saying this person doesn't love their baby. You're saying this person is not a good person. I don't want to buy from this. Like, I don't even want to deal with these people.
Yes.
And it's just
yeah. It's a great example because I remember going into a house and the top floor was pristine. It was beautiful. And downstairs it was a shite show. And that's a British, a shite show is like a Canadian, a British version. Anyway, so I walk into this room and they have a squirrel like this. And
yeah.
all I can remember now, even 15 years later, is that squirrel.
Right. Yeah. And we've all been through the homes that have like the taxidermy all over the walls or a lot of religious items all over the walls, or even just sexy photos in the bedrooms. There's a lot of a lot.
Okay. So let's just close this out.
Yeah.
Sit down, look at the whole market, look at all the comments, try and just figure out, if you were a buyer, put yourself in the buyer's shoes, put your feet in the buyer's shoes and say, what is a buyer perceiving when they come to my home? And what can I do to make it more amenable for them to purchase? If you're highly motivated to sell, if you don't have to sell, maybe now's not the time.
Right. Why hammer at something that's not actually worthwhile? So if it's not the time to sell, you're not getting activity, maybe do take your home off market and wait for a better time. There may never be a better time, and you need to understand that. You may never sell, or it may be 5 years away. But if you don't really and truly need to sell, why put yourself through the trouble?
Yeah.
Really listen to the market, be in tune with it, and listen to your agent.
Yeah. Okay, folks. So if you like the show and you know somebody who's trying to sell, maybe they need to hear our advice. If you know somebody who is wanting to get their home ready, let us know. Please share and also don't forget to comment if you have any questions. And Andrew, how do people get in touch with you, my darling?
Reach out. I'm at 250-360-6106. That's my cell. It's a direct line. You will catch me there. Unless I recognize, never mind. You will reach me there. Info at andrewplank.com is my email, and you can come to the website andrewplank.com as well. We are also at realvibe.ca for the Vibe Collective.
Okay, Jen.
I am at 250-217-4925. Email is jen@jenlowe.ca, and my website is jenlowe.ca.
All right, and you can reach me with our new branding at the Briar Hill Group. My number is 250-744-0775. My email is jane@briarhillgroup.com, and you can visit us on our web at briarhillgroup.com. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at realtyteacher_remix_Victoria. And I'm happy to say that we got our Facebook back. Yay!
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh, good for you. Good for you.
Yeah. All right, I got to go to another meeting. So we'll see you next week. Don't forget, we are on every Thursday at 9:30. We'll see you then. Take care, everybody. Have
Bye,
a great
everybody.
week.
Thanks so much.
Bye.